Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen. We're Moshe and Moria Gold. We're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, and then Moshe is going to tell you this amazing Dvar Torah that he has for Rosh Hashana. So, I grew up in Ashkelon for Sephardi parents. No connection to Anglo whatsoever. You'll see my life and Moshe's life are like totally different universes. I grew up in Bet Yaakov. I grew up Haredi basically, and then after high school, I went to a college named Lustig in Ramat Gan. Seminar, yeah, it was yeah. There I did my first degree in computer science. I was a computer programmer for 6 years. I married Moshe after I married Moshe after I'm done. After I was done, when I was successful high tech woman, he found me and decided, okay, that's the one. We lived for 4 years in Moshe's where Moshe learned in the Shiva and Ma'ale Adumim. And 2 years ago, we went on shlichut, and Moshe's gonna. Oh wait, the kids. We have 3 kids, amazing kids. You can see some picture in the background. David, Nava, and Abigail. Uh, Amazing kids, Baruch Hashem. I'm about, yeah, we'll get to the 4th one in a month. Please God, I'm about to give birth. Looking forward. And Moshe's gonna tell you now all about.
My side of the story. Yeah. First of all, Moria, I forgot to say that I taught her all her English. Just kidding. She's always just good at English. So yeah, I'll tell you my life story is very different than Moria's. I want to start my journey actually with my grandfather. Today is my grandfather's yard site. My grandfather's that I'm named after, Moshe Dov. My grandfather Moshe Dov, it's his yard site tonight, so also I'm going to dedicate my Dvar Torah to him. But my story actually wanted to start with my other grandfather, Rabbi Zev Gold. He was a rabbi in Chicago, and after the 6-Day War, he happened to have tickets before the war, and they flew to Israel a week and a half after the war. And they were so amazed by the vibes and the feelings of Israel right after the war that they said they have to make Aliyah immediately. They flew back to Chicago, and then reality hit them, and they said they can't just leave a community in the middle. You know, there was a lot of tension with the reforms at those times, the conservative. You can just leave a community and not know what's going to happen, not know it's going to be in safe hands. So they stayed. Then a few years later, my father, he was in Israel for the year in a gap year program, like Yeshiva, Keren Be'avnet. And it was 1973, and that was the year of Yom Kippur War. And my father was learning and helping with what he can with preparing the soldiers, all these things. And he was so amazed and so touched with how much he was doing. And also, again, he wanted to make Aliyah immediately. And next year, he stayed another year in Keren Be'avnet. And then, unfortunately, in the middle of the year, my grandfather passed away. And then he flew back, and he did smicha. He became a rabbi also in Chicago. And then when he left, he said he's going to come back to Israel. He wasn't going to forfeit that dream. And he got married with kids a little bit, but he came to Israel, and he became a rabbi of a community in Ginot Shomron, Neve Aliza. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born. And he always told me, as growing up as the son of the rabbi, that he had a little bit of charata, like not charata, guilt, that his father didn't want to leave, didn't want to abandon the community in Chicago, but in a way that's what he did. Eventually, the community that my grandfather broke apart and it disappeared, and my father always felt, that all the strong Zionistic rabbis came to Israel, leaving the communities in America much weaker. And it always gave me motivation to one day do shlichut, to go back and give them some of what they lost when my father left. And as I grew up, I went to Ma'ale Adumim Yeshiva, where I learned it for 10 years, married Moria, and there I don't find a better way of saying it. but I really fell in love with, besides doing smicha and stuff like that, I fell in love with the Tanakh and all the stories in it and the depth that you can find in it and the academia around it. And eventually I did 2 masters in Bible studies. And really it's one of my my passions. Today is not going to be a share about Tanakh because it doesn't really fit with Rosh Hashana. But you should know that if you like this share, then you definitely like my Tanakh shares. And what else? So then after I finished the yeshiva in Ma'ale Adumim, I went to work in gap year programs, mainly in a yeshiva called Eretz Tzvi. There, my job was simple but hard. You get the students for 1 year. 1 year, in that 1 year, you have to give them all the tools, spiritually, emuna, machshava, tanakh, halacha, so they can have it all packed in their brain. They can go to university where they're going to be in a secular, non-Jewish environment and manage to survive, and hopefully even thrive. So for 2 years, that's what I did, and I felt like that I'm training them so they can survive in this battle called university. But then they go off, and I stay here in Israel in my safe bubble in yeshiva. And I decided that I can't do that anymore. Kind of like my father felt like that he abandoned the community in America, so I felt like I'm abandoning them right before in the battle where they need me the most. So we decided to go to do shlichut, and long story short, we ended up doing shlichut in England, where we had a bunch of jobs. Part of it, we created a university program, a learning program for university students, and I was the youth rabbi over there, and I was taught in the high school, and I was assistant rabbi, and Moria helped me with everything I was doing, and it was really an amazing holistic experience. And then, Baruch Hashem, the Corona came, and our shlichut came to an end, and we looked for a community to go to, a place that we could feel at home. And so far, I think that Oilari, Ra'anana is actually the perfect match for us, because we're Israeli, American a little bit, and now British a little bit, and I think that mixture of culture mixture that we have here is very unique, and I think we will fit well, these guys. I hope you noticed that Moria just disappeared. She's not a magician. She just had to go. She apologizes. I'll continue to share from here. Okay, so what is the difference between an Agada and Agadita? The word Agada means legend in Hebrew, is fairy tale stories. And Agadita refers to Jewish stories in the Midrashim and Chazal. So today I want to show a few differences between Agada, a fairy tale legend, specifically Greek mythology legends, to two Midrashim. Okay, so the first Midrash that I want to talk about, it's a nice, beautiful Midrash. Everyone here, I'm 95% that 99%, I'm positive everyone here knows the story. But what's even more amazing, in my opinion, is that the fact that this story doesn't have a clear source. No one knows where it originated from. It doesn't have not in the Gemara, not in the Mishnah. No one knows where it came from, but everyone knows it. And what makes it even more amazing is that think about the story, it doesn't really make any realistic sense. Okay, so the story goes like this. Two brothers inherit a field from their father, and one has a lot of children and one has no children. They're harvesting the field together, and one night the brother without any kids thinks about his brother with all the kids and says, "Oh, why should we split 50-50? That's not fair. My brother has a lot more kids. He needs the money a lot more than me. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go give him some of mine, and that will make it that will be more fair, in essence." And that same night, his brother thought about him. "Oh, my brother, he's not married. He doesn't have any kids. If he has some more money, maybe he can get his life together and get and actually get married." And they really both went and they switched piles. And in the morning they woke up The same, they have the same amount, 50-50. Next night, the same thing happens. And eventually, in the last, the story tells that they meet in the middle of the night, in the middle of the field, each holding sheaves of wheat, and they both understand simultaneously what happened, and they hug each other and they cry, and that's where the legend tells that's where the Beit HaMikdash was built. Now, I told the story didn't have a source, but everyone knows it, which is amazing in the story as in itself. And I tell you, think about the realistic side of the story. I'm sure you've all been to the Kollel. Some of you may have been even to Har HaBayit. It's not a place for a field. Even though today it's flat, it's at the top of a mountain. You can't do a field on top of a mountain. When a field needs water, especially in Israel, where it doesn't rain that often, you need a place where the water seeps down to. It can't be on top of a mountain. To bring the animals to plow the top of the mountain, the more you think about it, the more you see that doesn't make any sense. But still, it's everyone knows the story, and everyone in kindergarten you know the story. I think it comes to teach us the beauty in it's like not that teach us. I'll restart this. I think you see that the urban legends of every culture, the Midrashim is the Jewish legends, but every culture has its own stories, are the foundation, the spiritual foundations of the culture, of the people, which is, I think this story is even more so shows that, because it's saying the foundations of the Beit HaMikdash, where the Beit HaMikdash is built. What's the spiritual basis of that? Love of brothers, love, avat chinam, of chesed, of thinking of the other. That is the foundation, spiritual foundation of Judaism. You don't need to have a source for that, a clear source for that, because everyone grows up in the Jewish culture and the Torah and the mitzvot. That's what they know. I'll just try to give a little anecdote in the second story. The second story is from Greek mythology. It's how Rome was built. Okay, so the Greek mythology has a lot of stories about gods and war and killing. It's, especially when you compare it to the Torah, it's very, very brutal. Especially when you have the story of Rome. Rome, I'm going to give you the shortest version I could say. There's a few versions of it, then let's try to give you a short one. Two brothers, sons of gods, try to be killed. Their uncle, who's the ruler, tries to kill them because they're the rightful king, and they get thrown to the river in a basket. Yes, I know that reminds us of Moses' story a little bit. And then they get saved by wolves, and they grow up and they overthrow their evil uncle. Yes, I know that sounds a little bit like Lion King. And eventually they take the throne and they want to make a new city, the city of Rome. But there's only one problem: who's going to rule? Who's going to be the king? So each brother said, "I should be the king. I should be the king," and eventually they kill each other. Now, that is the spiritual foundation of Rome. Now, thank God, today the Western world, although it has some characteristics of Rome, if you follow it to America, it does have some cultural characteristics. The world, Baruch Hashem, got less barbaric, much more moral, mainly because of Judaism, because the Torah influenced Christianity that has a big part of the world, or influenced Islam that has a big part of the world, and eventually through the hashpa'ah, through the influence of Judaism, the whole world became more moral, more loving, and the ideas of love and avat chinam are stuff that appear in all over the world and not only in Judaism. But the origin, if you compare it, it's actually the foundation of Judaism that affected and influenced the whole world. I'll give another two small stories. Again, one Jewish, one from Greek mythology, that you see this happening again. So there's a story in the Gemara, in Masechet Nazir, that talks about a Nazarite. So every Nazarite, a Nazir, it's not like this. So it's talking about Rabbi Shimon HaTzadik, who was a Kohen, and he was proud of himself that he never ever accepted an offering from a Nazir. He explains that he didn't believe they were really honest Nazirim. He wouldn't accept their offerings. What does that mean, an offering of a Nazir? So a Nazir is someone who vows not to drink wine, not to cut his hair for a certain amount of time. When he finishes, after he says, I'm not going to cut my hair for a month, for a week, for a day, for whatever he decides, then he has to cut off all his hair meaning everything, including his eyebrows. And so that's what a Nazirite is. And he, again, like I said, would not accept, at the end, they have to bring a korban also to the Mikdash, but he wouldn't never want to eat from their korbanot. He says, except for one Nazirite, he accepted his korban. And he tells the story goes like this. He saw a Nazir getting the korban ready, and he's about to cut his hair. And he comes to him, he saw this Nazir had long curls, black curls. He says, what do you see fit? Why do you want to ruin your beautiful hair? And the Nazir tells him the following story. Says, oh, Rebbe, I was a shepherd. I am a shepherd. And I took my flocks to drink some water, and I bent down myself to drink the water. I saw my reflection in the water, and my evil, my Yetzer Hara, my evil incarnation took over me and wanted me to do horrible stuff. And I caught myself in the hands, and I said, you remember, right now maybe you're beautiful, but eventually you'll be all maggots and decay, and don't be in the physical world. Take down from your pride. And I swore to be a Nazir. And that's why I decided to become a Nazir. Rabbi Shimon heard that and said, oh, you're the perfect Nazir. That's what being a Nazir is all about. So what's the whole chiddush? What's the chap that Rabbi Shimon Tzaddik saw here? So if you look at the question that he asked was, how come you saw it fit to cut your hair? I would have thought that we would have said, what a Nazir is someone who grows his hair. So why do you see fit to grow your hair? But he said, no, why do you see fit to cut your hair, to destroy your hair? So according to Rabbi Shimon, being a Nazir is not about growing out your hair, like people think. It's about cutting it. It's about taking away your pride, taking away your beauty. And this is the only Nazir understood that the being a Nazir is taking a step away from the attention, away from you, and not giving you the attention. Yes, for a certain period of time, you have to grow your hair, but then you cut it all off and you become weird looking, and that's why you become a Nazir. Okay, so this story has a very, very similar story to it in Greek mythology about Narcissus. He, again, like the stories, was a son of gods that was a hunter, and he, again, I'm going to make the shortest version of the story that I can say. Eventually, he's very beautiful, and he goes down at some point to drink water from the river, and he sees his reflection, falls in love with himself, and he doesn't want to ruin his own reflection, so he eventually dies from thirst. Now, the Jewish story and the Greek story here are very similar, but the difference is a small difference, which makes a huge difference. The difference is that the Jewish guy believed he can change. The Jewish story says, hey, a man can change and may have to do something very drastic, become a Nazir. That's not not the normal way to live, but drastic times call for drastic measures, and that's what I'm going to do. In the Greek story, it's he is what he is. I am what I am. I think it has to do also with the fact a hunter versus a shepherd. A hunter, his profession is based on the fact that nature of animals don't change. They drink in one place, they sleep in one place, they eat in one place, and that's how the hunter can hunt them. And a shepherd domesticates the animals. He teaches them where to drink, where to do, and goes to help them go against their nature. And if he does that with animals, even more so with humans. So I think it also connects them then to the modern world. The modern psychology says that the Jewish way is right. A man can change. We know that the world split today into fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. Fixed mindsets are like narcissists. They are what they are. They don't believe they can change. So they have a fixed mindset. I can't change. I can't develop. I can't. So nothing. The story ends there. But in the Jewish story, that believe in a growth mindset. And a growth mindset, yes, you may have to work hard, but you can achieve anything. You can change habits. You can change personalities to a degree. You can do so much. All you have to do is believe and put in the work. So now that we're going towards Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur times, that's all we have to do is believe that we could believe that we could and put in the work, and we can change all our bad habits and put in new good habits. And please God, I'm saying this in the name of Moria, who is still not here, that we'll when this whole craziness of Corona will be over, hope to meet every single one of in the community and get to know them. And for happy Simchot and Ktiva V'Chatima Tova. Thank you for listening.